I got into dance first because my best friend was a dancer, and started with creative ballet with my friend, and then from there it's just taken me all kinds of different places in my life. It just makes me feel very alive. It just makes sense. When I'm dancing, I just put everything else away. Really the highest level of technique is to reach the highest aesthetic in any form that you're working with. I think it's something that we feel as dancers, but it also gets communicated to your audience, this kind of beauty of movement that takes great training. There's the fundamental beginnings, which sometimes happen really down in your roots, in your feet, in the floor, so that you can really understand the rest of the body. The further along you get in your skill, the more aspects of all of that you can put together at once. And for me, I can't be more present than when I'm very seriously trying to do one very difficult thing beautifully. Oh, it's incredible. A battement or a grand battement could be just called a high kick. You use the power of this idea of roots to be able to let the leg fly. You can also think of being down in the ground, using the power of the floor to get you up. And so often in dance, that's a huge concept. By using a certain physical property, the friction of the floor, it creates a release of energy that creates that sense of ease and sharpness. I'm a dancer and a scientist.
Judy has a great skill for dancing, but we want to show that the exact same forces used to make her foot fly way up in the air gracefully are at the roots of the automotive industry. Cars have amazing technology. They can go so fast, or they can be really fuel efficient. But we use all the same technology to make these cars move, in that we need traction between the tire and the road, and this is called friction. The force that stops sliding, or can make it really difficult. The more weight that you put on top of an object, the more friction that it feels, and the harder it is to move it. And if you suddenly take off the weight... Another wild thing about friction is that sometimes some materials need more force to get them moving than after they start moving. A great example is rubber, which needs a little bit more force to get it moving than to keep it moving. So you have a really boring ground, but on that ground is an object, and this object is being pulled in a given direction. So there's a force going that way. Because there's weight of this object, there's friction along the ground, and this friction tries to slow down the pull. So there's actually another force going in that direction, a battle between forces. So do you want to experience this battle between forces? Whenever there's pressure, there's friction and movement, you get heat. So if you smash your hands together and move them around like this, you get heat between your hands. The harder you push, the more heat there is, the more friction there is. You get it? Sometimes the laws of friction mean that things can be really useful or really fun, or sometimes really scary. And you can lose control, and it can be really dangerous. But car companies know it. And so they've innovated the exact same friction science as Judy to make anti-lock brakes. The car doesn't skid to a stop, instead it slows to a stop. The difference is, with anti-lock brakes, it takes less distance to come to a stop than if you're skidding. This means fewer accidents and lives saved. Let's get back to Judy. She's a master of friction. She takes her foot, she pushes it down on the floor really, really hard, so there's lots of friction. It doesn't move until she unweights it and it starts to slide. It'll slide faster because it uses less force, and off it goes, soaring. And that's the same technology used to keep our world safe.